on today's StoryBeat.
When you're trying to come up with a character, I look at it a little more technically. What's the age? So she's maybe a teenager. Okay, where's she from? Okay, just to make it easy, put her in the South. Maybe she's a little bit snarky. So then we have a teenager in the South and she's snarky. Well, maybe she has braces. Okay, so now we have this teenage snarky thing and she's got braces on. So you layer the different things that are in your wheelhouse that you can do to come up with different characters.
This is StoryBeat with Steve Cuden, a podcast for the creative mind. StoryBeat explores how masters of creativity develop and produce brilliant works that people everywhere love and admire. So join us as we discover how talented creators find success in the worlds of imagination and entertainment. Here now is your host, Steve Cuden.
Thanks for joining us on StoryBeat. We're coming to you from the Steel City, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My guest today, Debi Derryberry, is one of the most in-demand voiceover actresses in Hollywood. She's perhaps best known for voicing Jimmy Neutron in both the Academy Award-nominated film Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius and the TV series The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. Debi's also played dozens of memorable characters in features like the original Toy Story, in which she's one of the aliens, The Boy and the Heron, Despicable Me 2, Kiki's Delivery Service, The Christmas Chronicles, and many more. Her voice can also be heard in well more than 100 TV series, including Monster High, Sharkdog, Bugs Bunny Builders, Pokemon Horizons, and The Loud House. Debi's video game work includes Cookie Run Kingdom, Crash Bandicoots, Final Fantasy, Guild Wars 2, Genshin Impact, and World of Warcraft. For anime, you can hear Debi in Netflix's Rising Impact, Zatch Bell, Sailor Moon, and Glitter Force. Debi's also written and recorded 5 award-winning children's music albums. Her 2 most recent are Go to Sleep Lullaby album and Gotta Go Green. Debi's song Baby Banana hit #1 on Sirius XM Kids. Her music can be readily found on all digital streaming platforms. Look for her new kids single, Compost Bin, with Grammy Award winner Lisa Loeb. You can also find Debi at DebiDerryberry.com and on her YouTube channel, Debi Derryberry Kids, which has animated videos to accompany her children's music. Her TikTok page has over 1.3 million followers and over 28 million likes. So for all those reasons and many more, it's my tremendous honor and truly great pleasure to be joined today on StoryBeat by the extraordinarily multi-talented Debi Derryberry. Debi, welcome to the show.
Wow. Thanks, Steve. That was quite the intro. Thank you very, very much. It's so nice to be here.
And well-deserved, well-deserved. So let's go back in time just a little bit and into your history. When did acting and singing first bite you? How old were you?
Golly, I would say, well, my mom had a guitar. We always did little songs from camp. When we drove places, we'd do songs together, and I just got the harmony bug and loved to do harmonies. It just makes me tick inside, makes me go all happy. And so I got my guitar when I was 9, and back then we had a newspaper and they put the top 40 song, they printed in the newspaper with the chords and you could cut it out and play the song and learn how to play it. I had a singing partner. I think I was maybe 8 or 9 when I was just overcome with I must sing all the time. Our family was we grew up in the desert near Palm Springs. We were members of the Valley Players Guild, so we were in community theater, and I did a number of community theaters in the desert as well as high school theater, and I went to UCLA to be a doctor, to be a pre-med, and I took drama there. Obviously, I did not go to med school, much to my dad's dismay. But I continued studying acting and doing stage shows, and then segued into some on camera. So it's sort of always been part of my life. My favorite part is when people clap for me. I like being clapped for.
But in a studio setting, you don't get clapped at very often, do you?
No, Not at all. But then there's conventions where people will give you your accolades at your table when you sign their their items.
Are they amazed that you are who you are because they many times won't even know what you look like?
That's right. I have, we have our banners there at our tables, and usually people will walk up to the table and they'll look at, I have these pictures that have all the characters that I've done, well, some of them around me, and they'll look at the characters and they'll do like a double take. Wait, you were Jimmy Neutron? Wait, you were Zatch Bell? Wait, you were... And I'll reply yes in the character's voice. And sometimes, Steve, it can be very emotional for the listener because this was what they grew up with. And just like, when you smell something that reminds you of like grandma's house, that fried chicken smell or that plant at that place, when you hear that sound, I would say 2 or 3 times at each convention, people break down in tears. And, they apologize. I'm like, don't apologize. It happens. You have memories. There are things that spark genuine, primal emotions. And I guess sound, voice is one of them.
Absolutely, especially when it's a sound from your childhood.
Yeah.
And it's something that had meaning to you and resonance. It comes all the way back up. By the way, that's the first time in 9 years of doing this show that anyone has used the word verklempt. So I'm thrilled.
Well, I don't know how to spell it. I didn't know there was an R in it. Verklempt. Well, there you go.
At what point in your career, as you were starting out, did you think to yourself, I not only love doing this, but I'm actually good at it? When did you figure out that you were good at this?
I don't know if I figured that out yet. I don't ever think that thought came into my head. I love to work really hard, and I love to do what I love to do. I've had these opportunities come my way, and I just kind of run through the door and I say, yes, I want to try that. If one thing isn't working and another door opens, then I run through that door. And a few of these doors have led me to projects that have been really successful, not by my doing, maybe a little bit, but there's so much more involved in a show than the voice. There's the creators and the writers, the directors and the producers and the advertisements, the networks, that there's so much more. And I'm just lucky to be doing the voice, and that seems to be what people notice.
Well, I'm here to tell you that you're actually very good at what you do.
Thank you.
And not only that, but the truth is that as a writer, we're going to talk about this a little more, but as you know, I've written a lot of animation scripts.
Yes.
And I never wrote a single animation script in all of my whole career that wasn't made much better by the actors.
Is that right?
Whatever's in your head as a writer, it's not what winds up being done by the actors, and it's almost always much better.
I do a lot of coaching, a lot of voiceover teaching, and I tell my students, the writer puts there on the page what his idea is, but we get to play with that, we get to interpret that, but we also need to give the animator something to do. The words are a suggestion, and you need to stick to them fairly close, but you can play with them, and that's where the acting part comes in. You have to be able to get them off the page.
I think the great voiceover actors that I have watched and seen work in LA are also great improvisers. They can riff on things and make things much, much better than what's on the page.
Before COVID, when we would be in the booth together, it was so much more fun to riff and to be able to have that camaraderie and bouncing off each other. And now that we record alone, we don't get that as much. And I think product suffers, quite honestly.
It's a different energy, isn't it? You don't get the energy off of the other people.
That's exactly it. You don't get to bounce off them. And you remember back in the days when all the actors have their headphones on, and the engineer would just let it run, and it was just crazy what would come out.
Absolutely. Well, so many of them came from either the world of acting prior to, or they were comedians or whatever. But almost all of the successful voiceover actors that I'm aware of are funny people. They're not dull, uninteresting folks. And when they're in a booth together as a group, it just gets completely crazy.
It does get completely crazy. With Jimmy Neutron, I was basically, Steve, I was the straight man. I was in that studio with the funniest people I've ever been around: Mark DiCarlo, Megan Kavanaugh, Rob Paulson, Jeff Garcia, just hilarious people who could riff and had so many stories. And I think to make something work, you need both the straight man and the riffer.
So do you feel like the work that's being done today is really less amusing or less entertaining or less full of energy than it was? Is that what you're saying? That's the big difference?
As an actor, yeah, because it's, I'm pointing. I know you can't see because we're audio only, but I'm pointing at my booth, which is a little room here in my office, and that's where I go to work. And it's not like we'd get in the studio and go to Nickelodeon. I could. I mean, sometimes we go into the studio still, but it's never a group. I do miss it. And it was a special time. When you're in something like that, you don't realize until you're out of it, wow, that was the golden time. That was amazing, because now it's gone.
That was a very special period. Well, especially when I was doing most of my work was the 1990s into the 2000s, and it was the animation business was rocking and rolling. They were throwing off tons of episodes of tons of shows, mostly for syndication. All right, so let's talk for a moment about the business of being a voiceover actor, actress. There must be at least 1,000 people in your head. Where do all the characters come from? Is it just from the written page, or are you out there in the world and characters are coming to you before you even know you're going to do them?
I think it's a combination of that. I do have what I call your legacy characters that live in your head. You have your standard characters, but then when you're trying to come up with a character, I look at it a little more technically, a little more scientific, where I'll say, okay, what's the age? Well, so she's maybe a teenager. Okay, where's she from? Okay, just to make it easy, put her in the South. Okay, we have a teenager in the South, and make her, maybe she's a little bit snarky. So then we have a teenager in the South, and she's snarky. Well, maybe she has braces. Okay, so now we have this teenage snarky thing, and she's got braces on. And so you layer the different things that are in your wheelhouse that you can do to come up with different characters. So for me, there's, the skills that I have that I can put together. There's my wheelhouse characters. There's my copycat characters. In Jimmy Neutron, Rob Paulson does this character named Carl, and everybody wants to imitate Carl. Well, I kind of stole him for a show I did with Bill Burr called F is for Family, and there was a little character named Philip. Yeah, so I did my version of Carl as Philip, but he had some braces too. And so you can steal, impersonate. There's so many different ways of bringing characters into Crazy Brain.
Do you work with your voice every single day?
Yes, whether I'm, just picking up my guitar and writing a song, or this morning I was at my producer's house singing. I had 2 auditions yesterday. One of the auditions took a while because they wanted me to sing this particular song, so I had to learn it, download the karaoke track. Now we have to be our own engineers too. So I have to learn how to use software where I can download music and sing with it and edit it together and do that.
You produce your own work that way? You actually do the physical work as well, not just the singing?
For auditions, we have to record ourselves and edit it. If there's a song that they want us to sing, we have to record that together too.
And so you just said auditioning. You're still auditioning? People don't just call you and say,
I get asked
let's
that
go?
So often, Steve. We still have to audition. Once in a while, they'll throw me a bone. Back in the day of Janine McSwain and Sue Blue, they would say, get Debbie over to Nickelodeon, or get Debbie over to Salami Studios, or just go. But it's different now. You have to audition for every single thing. So I do. And there's so many different things to audition for, Steve. There's video games, and every video game has, over 300 characters. It's a constant audition process for video games, for all the dubbing, for the anime shows. It's never ending.
So as you're working with your voice during the day, do you have a typical set of exercises that you do, or is it different every day?
I don't. I mean, sometimes if it's going to be a challenging singing session, I will do my standard singing exercises, usually in the car on the way over to the studio. But I think just in general, I work on my breathing. I swim every morning and I hold my breath a lot to try and really get my lung capacity up. And, I do all the things you're supposed to do and not do, like no smoking and no coffee. And I'm drinking, you can't see it, but I have my hot beverage. And I don't really drink sodas. So we just standard makes sense, take care of your voice kind of things.
Is there anything that you learned about your voice early on that you're still doing and working on? Or have you passed all that into some other phase?
I used to do things that would hurt my voice. And I'd think, oh, I'll just have to do it for a second. But, I've learned if you can't sustain it for 2 to 4 hours, that's not a voice you should be doing.
What do you mean by sustain it?
If where you place that voice, if you can make it sound like that and keep that voice print for the length of the session and guide that voice print through all the emotions that go with that character in that episode. Maybe there's some laughing, maybe there's some crying, maybe there's screaming, maybe there's some something very dramatic, and maybe there's cursing, maybe there's laughing, maybe there's no talking at all and it's just all laughing. Can you stay in that character for all those requirements? And it can be hard. I had one show called Tasmania, and I played, Jim Cummings was Taz, and I played his little brother Jake. And the voice that I got cast with was a voice I could not sustain, and I ended up with almost a vocal node. So I know never to audition that voice again, because every time I went into session, I always ended up blowing it out.
Did you know when you first started doing it that you were in trouble?
I knew that it would be challenging and I better be, healthy and up to the task, but I didn't think it would be a problem doing that voice. Usually as a professional athlete, they will say no pain, no gain. But with voiceover, it's not that way. If there's pain, don't do that voice.
Well, some voice actors, they do stuff, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody's vocal cords are different. Some smokers have that signature smoking sound, and some people sound smoky without even smoking.
Like Julie Kavner.
Yeah, she has that, I can do that ancient rasp now without it hurting me. I call it sort of my granny spot. It doesn't hurt me to talk like this, but I just lower it and there's some texture there and whoa, Bob's your uncle.
That's Warner Brothers' classic granny.
Yes, but it doesn't hurt. And there are so many screaming scenes and death scenes in video games, and the directors are always very thoughtful and let you scream at the end of the session. And sometimes they're very young directors and they don't know how a voice works, and us voice actors who do know, we will say, listen, there's these few lines that are really pushing a lot of emotion. Let's save it to the end. I've been really fortunate that my voice has remained strong and I've been able to do all these different characters.
Well, for sure, because you can hurt yourself if you're not careful. And that's why I was curious if there is a preparation that you go through every day, and you're saying not really, it's a day-by-day thing. Are there certain preparations that you go through with your voice when you're getting ready to record a show that's going to take you several hours?
Yeah, I will make sure that I eat the right things beforehand, or not eat the wrong things. No, no bubbles, no tuna fish, no garlic, no soda, no coffee, comforting kind of easy foods that don't give you a lot of phlegm, no milk, cottage cheese, ice cream, things to me that are just second nature, just that you're not going to do before a session.
Did you know that when you first started out, or did you have to learn it the hard way?
I think I had to learn it the hard way. But of course, 30 years ago, when you're 20 or 30, you're so resilient and you'll never die. There's never anything that's going to hurt you. You just keep at it. But now you just have to take care of your body and your voice. It is really the key. And the eyes, that's another thing. Because now we don't get paper scripts anymore, Steve. Everything's on a digital monitor. When I coach people, when I train people, I still have them use a paper script because I want them to get used to being able to take that adjustment, whatever the director's asking them to do, and not forget it. But these days, you don't have a paper script, so you usually have a little pad of paper. These monitors on which the scripts are placed are at different distances. I have a distance for my booth, so I have booth glasses. I have computer glasses, so I can look down and up for a bifocal look. I have distance glasses for because I've always needed glasses. When I'm in a video game studio, sometimes they put that monitor on the far wall. So you have to be prepared with your eyes. And also, another thing is the headphone situation. Because I have glasses, the headphones can smash against the temples and give you headaches. So for recording, I have these custom ultimate earbuds that are custom made to my ear, and I'll take that into the studio with me, and that'll plug into the interface because the headphones smash against them. I'm really short. I'm 4'10", so sometimes I travel to a studio with you know what a yoga block is? It's like a little square that's it's made out of foam, really, but it's like my footstool, because if my feet don't touch the ground and I'm sitting in a chair for 4 hours, that can be hard on somebody's back, or if you're standing for a long time. So it's there's a lot of physicality you have to think about.
And do you exercise every day to work with your body so that you can do that?
Every single day. I'm on my exercise cycle in the sunroom at 6 a.m. I do 20 minutes of high cardio, and then we'll do 20 minutes Pilates on our YouTube Pilates, and then in the swimming pool for the lung and the stretching, and then we'll do the dog walk. So every day is a combination of those.
So I think the listeners need to pay close attention to this. If you have any thought in your head about becoming a voice actor, or even just not a voice actor, an actor in general, you have got to take care of what they call your temple, which is your body. And if you don't, then you run the risk of you're burning yourself out or not being able to do it. And so it's a very important aspect of doing what Debi does. So when you receive a script, I assume you receive most scripts ahead of time. You're not seeing them for the first time in the studio, or do you?
Video games, you never receive a script. You receive your few lines. You sign an NDA. You don't get to know the story. You have to be a really good cold reader, because you just go in and here's your script, here's your lines, go. For cartoons, sometimes they send you the script, or sometimes they'll send you a scene, and a digital one, never on paper. As an actor, you want to read through the scene and know what's going on. You have to look at the stage direction. You have to see what the person said just before you spoke. You have to know why you're saying it. You have to know where you are. How far away is that person from you? It is the video games director's job to know what's going on in each scene. And a very important part of a video game session is the beginning, where I always have a paper and pencil, and they say, this is what's going on. The Tridacodon is coming back through the Paleolithic period, and you know that all the dragons wore loftas. So the loftas were going over the Phenaponomanoas. And it makes no sense, but you have to make sense of it, and they have to explain it to you.
I think that's phenomenal that anything comes out that sounds like it belongs together, because you're doing sometimes, as you say, in an individual booth by yourself, and they have to piece all that together, and it should sound like it's people talking to each other, but frequently you're not together at all. So that's the trick, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, good luck to the engineers. They're the ones that have to make it sound like they're talking to each other. But if you listen to, say, a Bobby's World or a Tasmania, where we all recorded together, or Jimmy Neutron, if you listen to those finished products, as opposed to, say, a Paw Patrol or, something that's current now that's not recorded together, there's a big difference in the way it sounds.
Yeah, I'm guessing that the producers don't worry about it too much because they probably think to themselves, the audience at that age is not terribly discriminating. And so they're not worried about the audience reaction being to the negative. But I think that it does make a difference.
I think the audience is very discerning, especially children. I do music for kids, and I don't perform live anymore. I have an animated character that I use called Little Debbie, and when I was performing live, if those kids were not engaged, they will get up and walk away. I mean, an adult will sit there and be polite. Kids are not so, they're not so trained in good manners because they want to be entertained.
Yeah, and if you don't keep them engaged, they will absolutely disengage quite quickly.
That's exactly right. I have this whole YouTube Kids channel. It's not YouTube Kids yet. It's Debi Derryberry Kids. And I'm hoping one day to make it down that lucky funnel that puts you into YouTube Kids, which is a whole other thing. But currently it's Debi Derryberry Kids. And my demographic is like 2 to 6 year olds. And I'm having so much fun with all my kids' music, having them animated. The songs are animated now, and I put them up on my YouTube channel. And you can look at the analytics and see how long somebody watches your video before they peace out.
I know that you do multiple characters within a single show. What's the most characters you've ever done in one episode of a show?
I think it was F is for Family. I had 7 characters. I had Bill Burr's daughter named Maureen. That was his little princess. That's like my standard clear voiced little girl. And then there was Philip, the fella down the street who had the braces and he was a little nervous. And then there was the kid down the street named Kenny. He wore a diaper, and his mama was in the people jail, and he watched the squirrels in the TV set. And then I did the nurse from kind of Midwestern. She was in the hospital all the time. What kid did you almost kill this time? And then I did Bridget. Bridget was a friend down the street, and she was very foul-mouthed, and she would say terrible sailor mouth things. And then there was Gert. Gert was Suzanne's friend from college, and she had those cat-eye glasses. And then I had Scott. Scott was a little computer nerd. So that was, I don't know if that was 7 or more, but there were a lot.
Did you ever have to do characters talking to themselves back and forth?
Oh, yeah. But what I prefer to do in that instance is just record one and then record the other and let the animator, go to town.
So I had the great privilege to sit in the booth and watch, not in the booth, but outside the booth, watch Jim Cummings doing 2 characters back and forth. Was in the show Bonkers when he was doing Lucky Pickell and Bonkers. And it was, there were 2 completely, utterly distinct sounding characters. They didn't sound anything alike. Their rhythms were different. Everything was different about them. And he did it back and forth to himself. And it was like, how is he doing that?
I know. It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
It's completely mind-boggling. The great ones like you are very smooth at doing it in a way that you go, I don't know how they're doing it. It's like a magic trick. It really is.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say. It's been so long that I've been doing it.
Well, yeah. You've got it down to a thing where you know how you're doing it. Do you use your body in your acting? Do you, even though it's voice acting, do you need to use body movement and expression in your face to get a character to work?
Absolutely. There was this one show I did with Tim Curry called Peter Pan and the Pirates. And Jason Marsden played Peter Pan, and I played Tinkerbell. And Tinkerbell was a little petulant, kind of I want to use the B word. She was a petulant, in love with Peter, and she didn't like Captain Hook. And I was like her first voice. Normally, she was just a tinkle. When I recorded her, I would look at the mic and I'd do this. And when I looked at the drawn animation, she did this, and she sometimes went cross-eyed. I'm like, why is she doing that? It's because that's what I did when I recorded her. And sometimes they film you when you're doing the voice because they want to know, how does she get that voice out?
They do that more often than people know, is that they will record the actors and use the actors' expressions in the actual animation.
They do, yeah. And they have to let you know. If it's a Screen Actors Guild union job, they have to tell you ahead of time that they'll be filming for the animators, which is fine. I mean, whatever they have to do. But yes, there is a physicality that goes with each character.
I think one of the most fascinating things that you do, and you have a specific voice for it, is you do both young boys and girls. Is there a distinction in your head how you get from a boy to a girl? How do you do that? Is it just the modulation of the voice?
In real life, little boys and little girls sound the same, but in cartoons, they expect the boys to have some gravel and the girls to be a little more clear voiced. If you're talking like a 6-year-old, they're not going to have the same smooth cadence that maybe a teenager does, because they stop and think. And that would be a little girl maybe. But then if it's a little boy, then I kind of come out the side of my mouth, and he has a little bit more gravel, and they are a little tougher, yeah. So for me, the difference is clear versus side of the mouth and gravel.
So I'm just curious, is there anything you wish animation writers would do more of to make your job easier?
I like it when they give pictures. They give images of what the character looks like, and that gives me an idea of what voice I might want to come up with. Like if it's a really very large character, kind of lumbering, then I have a couple choices. I might go lumbering, or I might do it little high-pitched, which would be really funny next to the visual of a very large character. So having the pictures is often helpful. I'm trying to think if there's something else in the scripts. Sometimes if it just doesn't ring true to the character that I've given it, I'll switch it up a little bit, depending on the regionalisms. Maybe the character is upset or excited, and they're from, if they are from the South, you might add something to it. You know what? I will tell you what. That might not be in the script, but you can add it. Or say they're from Wisconsin, it would be, for a corn sakes, do you know I'm taking a tuna casserole? Woo! And all those little woo-woo, those little expressions, the regionalisms, they bring it to life. And sometimes I'll add that.
Do you do stuff like that in the booth and they go, no, that's not what we want at all, do something totally different? Does that happen?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'll audition that way, and they'll be happy about the audition, and they'll book me, and they'll say, but we want to pull back on that accent. Pull back on that character a bit. Just give it to us straight. And so I tell my students when I'm coaching, if you have two really separate characters, give them both. Because they might really love them. But once you get into the booth, they're going to pull it back anyway. They're going to do it the way that they want. Who knows? Maybe there's another character that they want to be the funny right then.
You alluded to it a little bit a moment ago, but I love it when the voice with whatever the character drawing is counterintuitive to what you think the voice should be.
Yeah, I think that's super fun. And I guess that's the freedom we get as a voice actor, is to try those sorts of things. And sometimes when you're in a show as a utility player, the writers will have, some one-off character, and they'll say, just take that character this show, Debbie, and you'll get to come up with something, just on the spot. And you better be able to just reach into your bag of tricks and put something together right quick.
And no doubt you do. What kind of direction do you get that you think is very helpful? What would you like to have more direction of?
Oh, more Ginny McSwain. More. Debbie, chew up the scenery on this one. Come on, make me cry, Debbie. She was the best director ever. I like direction that is being from a scientific, pragmatic background. I like the easy ones, faster or slower, something that's very easy to do, that's very tangible. I really admire directors who have such a great retrieval skills with their words, and they can just reach down deep and find the exact thing they need to say. And of course, I don't have that, so I'm not able to communicate that to you right now. But a good director is rare and hard to find, and I've worked with just some of the best, and I'm always amazed at their word retrieval skills.
You're talking about that they have good verbs to use that help you to figure out where you're going with the line, how to say the line, and so on.
Not just necessarily grabbing the verb, but coming up with the sentence that communicates to you, rather than just, he's madder than that. Just instead of telling me more mad, they would say something that would just really resonate with me. Like, he just sliced off your dog's foot, and it was your favorite dog. I know, look at me going really dark. But sometimes they'll just say the right thing, and it'll get you right where you need to be. I wish I could think of a great example for you, but that's why I'm on this end of it, doing the voices and marveling at the great directors.
Does anybody ever give you line readings?
Oh, yes. Sometimes I think it's wrong when an actor objects to it, because sometimes the director does not have good word retrieval skills, and does not have good communication skills, and all they can do is say, I want it like this, and I will tell them, because they're struggling not to line read you, and I will say, just tell me the way you hear it in your head. It's okay. If it's a line read, that's okay with me. And I let them off the hook, and then they'll tell me, and it might be something that the emphasis was wrong, or that they were hearing something completely different than how I was reading the line. If you haven't got it in the first 3 takes, give me a line read.
Of course, there are 2 extremely famous examples of famous actors who notoriously railed against directors who were trying to give them line readings or something like that. One being William Shatner, who I've had the great fortune to interview, and also Orson Welles, both of whom are in Maurice LaMarche's wheelhouse, right? And so the notorious thing is, don't give me a line reading. Don't tell an actor how to read a line. You prefer it.
In the interest of time, yeah, it's just a line. And if I'm not getting it in a few takes, give it to me. So I just think it's a little snooty of an actor. Not that anything against Orson Welles or Mr. Shatner. They have studios are expensive. Studio time is expensive. Directors are expensive. Let's just get her done.
Absolutely. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about your songwriting, which you've already chatted about a moment ago or a little while ago. Do you think of yourself primarily as an actress or a songwriter, or both?
Oh, both.
How long have you been writing songs? Since you were 9 and you got the guitar, were you writing songs back then?
Yes, I wrote my first song was called My Dog's My Buddy, and that's actually on my first album, What a Way to Play. And I have not an animated video. Yeah, I have both, actually, animated and live action. They both bring me great joy, but writing music, songs, whether it's kids songs or adult songs. I also have a country band called Honey Pig. It's a 6-person band, 3 female harmonies. I love them both so much. I don't think of myself as anything. If you'd say, I'm a really good dog walker, and I'm a good songwriter, I'm a good singer, I'm a good actress. I work really hard at everything I do because I love what I do, and I want to be good at everything.
Why did you decide to focus on writing songs for kids?
Easy for me to sing in a voice that kids love. There's something about my singing voice that kids just like to listen to. And I think it's important as a steward of the grown-upness is to be able to have messages for kids that are on point, that are educational but not educational, that are fun but nurturing.
Do you write your songs on guitar? Is that what you write on, or do you also write on any other instruments?
Just on guitar. I'll generally, because I'm a competent guitar player, but I don't love E flat at all, and I play your basic chords. So my songs are fairly basic. They're generally your 1-4-5s or your 1-6-4-5s.
Well, you put into your songs rather a repetitive, simple, interesting, fun melodies. That's what I've noticed in looking at your work. It's not like you're doing complex orchestral stuff. It's purposely done for kids, and it has a repetition to it. And that's the way that most kids' songs play. And that's right.
And most country songs as well. Some of my adult songs are a little more complicated.
Do you have a preference?
No, I like it all. And sometimes I'll wake up and I'll have a kid song in my head that I'll have to write down. Or sometimes I'll wake up and I'll have a country song in my head that I have to write down. Or I'll have to turn on my voice memo on the phone and sing it to my phone in the middle of the night. And then I'll wake up in the morning and go, "What were you thinking, Debbie?" Or I'll be like, "That's a really good song." So they come to me in different ways.
So where did Baby Banana come from?
My kids, my second husband, came up with this character, Baby Banana. He said his dad was a gorilla and his mom was a duck. And I heard him telling this story to my son, and I thought, well, that's an interesting, diverse family. And so I wrote that song, Baby Banana and the Licorice Tree, and it was on my very first album. And I didn't know it was going to do so well. So I wrote a book called Baby Banana and the Licorice Tree. And then I did a whole separate album called Baby Banana with all kinds of, tropical fruit songs and baby banana type things, flying. And so that's how that song came up. And I did give him credit in the book, inspired by.
It's a very catchy song.
Thank you. Yeah, kids like it, and it has little hand motions to it. And I have a couple of different videos for it on my Debi Derryberry Kids animated channel. One of them is just coming out soon, and it's 3D, and the other one is 2D. So much fun doing these animated videos.
So one of your more recent songs is The Compost Bin. How in the world did you get Lisa Loeb to sing it with you?
Well, she lives down the street. We have the same voice agent. So I called her and I said, and I coached her actually a couple times for voiceover. And I said, I want to do a song more green based. So let's do a compost song. So I went over to her house and we wrote it. She really liked my music producer, Steve Brickman, and we recorded it over at his studio.
So when you get a song idea, where do you begin? Do you is it usually a melody, or is it a hook or a lyric? What usually comes to you first, or is it all the above?
All of the above. Sometimes it's a hook. It's never usually the melody, and sometimes it's an actual word hook. And sometimes I work on it so hard and nothing ever comes of it. And sometimes it just comes out like vomit, like boom.
And so when you typically write a song, are you a pretty fast writer, or does it take you a long time? Do you dwell on it for a long time?
I'm not a dweller, Steve. I like to get things done. So it might take, some songs might take longer than others. I look for the finish line. My dad used to say to me, "Debbie, if you can't decide, it doesn't matter."
What?
So
if you can't decide,
so
it doesn't.
Down to a couple things.
You also, from your career, you've had to go in and do it. It's not like you go into a studio and spend days trying to figure out a line. You just go in and do it.
Sometimes I don't want to say that I don't get stuck. I do get stuck. I have a few songs that have just sat there forever because they just haven't risen to the, with the cream to the top.
Is there a typical number of drafts that you go through, or is it usually 1-2 drafts and you're done?
Sometimes I think it's done, and then I'll sit on it and I'll record it and I'll be like, and then it'll come to me that there needs to be a change, and I'll go back in and have to re-record and make a change.
If you're the creator of a work of art, you're entitled to keep working it. I always think, I know for a fact certain that your first drafts are usually not very good of anything, and then it takes a little while to refine, to revise, to make it better, and then sometimes it takes a while longer than that to get it where you really want it. I mean, a lot of painters take a year or longer to paint a painting, so they just keep coming back at it. I'm just gonna tell you that I think that it's such a joy to listen to you speak, to listen to all the characters, and it's just fantastic. But we're going to wind the show down just a little bit, and I'm wondering, in all of your experiences, you've told us all these great stories already, but I'm wondering, can you share with us a story that's either weird, quirky, offbeat, strange, or just plain funny?
I've been a scuba diver since 1983, so I've been diving a long time. A friend of mine said, Debbie, they're looking for a scuba diver to be the body stunt double for a little boy in this movie they're doing at Warner Brothers called Free Willy. And so I went over to Warner Brothers, and it's still, at my age, I'm still the size of a 12-year-old boy. I've done a lot of jobs as a 12-year-old boy in costume or whatever, and I met with them. And the next day I was flying down to Mexico City to be the body stunt double to ride the whale for Free Willy. So in that movie, in Free Willy, when the little boy is running around the tank and he slips and hits his head and he falls in the tank and the whale rescues him, it's all me. I'm the one that rode that whale.
Really?
And I want to say that I do not believe in mammals in captivity, and I would never do the job again. Back then, I didn't have the deep knowledge that I do now on how cruel it is. So I don't want people to think that I think it was a great thing to do to have a whale in captivity. But it was a very cool job. And it was very fun to be in that whale tank with that whale for 7 weeks.
You were actually in with the live whale.
And I know that your audience can't see this, but I'm just going to show up this picture of me on the whale.
Debbie is showing us this beautiful framed portrait of her sitting on a real whale in Free Willy. That's crazy.
So that's my story.
I'm glad you survived that.
My mom and dad wanted me to get life insurance, and I called Lloyd's of London, and they said, no go. You don't get any insurance for that. Oh. But we were young, indestructible. Nothing ever hurts us.
And nothing did, and that's a good thing.
Nothing did. Nope. And that was before I had eye LASIX. I was legally blind without my glasses, and I couldn't wear glasses in the whale tank.
So how did you see what you were doing?
It was very fuzzy, but I, could see basic shapes. And I was basically the rat toy. The trainer told the whale what to do. And I was like the tennis ball you throw for your dog.
Oh, my goodness. Was that whale tossing you up in the air and all that stuff?
No people tossing. He did. There were a lot of nose pushes. There was a back rides. I was 18 feet under in the dark when the whale came at me with his big snout, and I couldn't see it, but I could feel the water moving. And my job was to let go of the grate on the bottom of this 18-foot pool and let the whale stick his head under my body and bring me to the surface and rescue me.
I had no idea. That would be intense. No question about it. Well, thank you for sharing that story. So, all right, last question for you today, Debbie. You've given us a tremendous amount of advice throughout this whole show, but I'm wondering if you have a single solid piece of advice that you like to give to those who come up to you and say, I'm starting out, I'd like to be a voiceover person, or whatever they say to you, or a songwriter. What kind of advice do you give to those people?
I would say, if you're sure there's nothing else that you could possibly do, if there's nothing else you want to do that you could possibly do besides voice acting, then you have to be a voice actor or a singer. But it is super hard, and it's such a long shot, and I've been so fortunate, that it's just such a hard way to make a living that I really try to discourage people unless they really want it. Because when you're passionate about something, then it's fun and you must do it. So if you must do it, then do it.
That is so excellent to hear, coming from someone who's had such great success, because I've told people forever, the business of show is not for the faint of heart or weak of stomach, and it really is extremely hard. And if you don't have the fire in your belly for it, it's not a good idea to go too far down the road because your heart's going to get broken. There are too many people that do have the fire in the belly, and that's the problem you're up against.
That's exactly right, Steve.
It's a tough road to hoe. And when you do have success like you've had, sometimes there are ups and downs, and you have to deal with those too. It doesn't all necessarily come as one smooth ride.
Oh yeah, it's an up and down business for sure. I want to make sure I take a minute to tell people about my kids YouTube channel. I know I spoke about it briefly.
Sure.
It's called Debi Derryberry Kids, and Debi is spelled DEBI with 4 letters. Derryberry is DERRYBERRY Kids, and I would love everybody to subscribe to it and show all the animated videos to your kids, or maybe you're just a big kid and you can watch them as well. But it's my new pride and joy, and I'm having so much fun doing it.
And your work is widely available on almost all the major podcasts, or not podcasts, but the major apps and platforms.
Oh yeah, it's on all the streaming platforms. It's on every single streaming platform out there in every country.
And tons of videos that are out there with Debi in them, all kinds of wonderful stuff and songs that you can find. I highly encourage you, especially if you're a parent with little kids that you're trying to keep entertained, I would suggest that you go find Debi Derryberry Kids.
Oh, and my latest compilation song list is called Dad Needs a Break, and it's over an hour of videos.
Wow. Dad needs a break. What about Mom? Doesn't she get a break?
That's the next playlist, Steve. It's going to be Mom Needs a Break.
That's the next compilation. Debi Derryberry, this has been absolutely a fantastic hour on StoryBeat, and I can't thank you enough for your time, your incredible energy, and all this wisdom that you've shared. I thank you kindly for all of it.
Thank you for having me, Steve. Always a pleasure.
And so we've come to the end of today's StoryBeat. If you like this episode, won't you please take a moment to give us a comment, rating, or review on whatever app or platform you're listening to. Your support helps us bring more great StoryBeat episodes to you. StoryBeat is available on all major podcast apps and platforms, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and many others. Until next time, I'm Steve Cuden, and may all your stories be unforgettable.